Well, thank you so much. And hello, everybody. I am especially excited about our guest today and the fact that today is Ageism Awareness Day. So we're excited to record on that day, even though this may not be aired until later. This is a great opportunity to challenge age-related stereotypes and promote age-inclusive thinking. And I feel like we have the perfect person to help us do that. Fritzi Gros-Daillon is a nationally recognized expert in aging in place. She's the CEO of Household Guardians, Director of Education for Age Safe America, and a master instructor with the National Association of Home Builders. She was named Educator of the Year in 2019, and as an AARP volunteer, she leads home fit trainings across the country. Fritzi is also a national speaker and passionate advocate for safe, age-friendly living spaces. So welcome, Fritzi. We are so glad to have you with us.
Thank you very much. That's quite an introduction. So I hope I step up to the plate here for your audience. So,
well, I think we'd kind of like to know how you got started in that arena.
All right, very short for my life story. While I was in New York, and I was there, you'll hear that if I've had enough coffee still. I started a senior move management business in 2001. And it was in the middle of the 20 years I was doing environmental consulting. So in 2001, senior move management, helping people downsize and move to assisted living, wasn't an industry. So naturally, I thought I invented it, only to discover by 2003 that there were about 40 people in the United States doing that work. And now it is a national organization, and thousands of people help families move into assisted living, downsize, pack, and do that. So I did that for 10 years. We moved about 1,000 people altogether before I came to California. And during that time, which also was the basis of my book, Grace and Grit, not everybody was really thrilled about leaving their home. As a matter of fact, there's like 3 that really stick out to me who were excited. One of the women was excited because she was 92 and needed some new friends. And so that's always oftentimes it's a very hard decision. And with my move to California, I knew I wanted to be in the aging in place space, give people more choices about making their homes safer, continuing to build those important relationships that allow them to stay home or to make that decision on their own. And, assisted living has wonderful value for lots of people, and it's a very important choice for many people. But to not have it forced on you, I think is the space that I wanted to be able to offer people that choice. So that's how I got into aging in place. And then from there, I began to teach it as well as consult. It's just kind of ballooned from there since 2012, 2013.
From an educational standpoint, what other types of educational component are others doing out there? Because you're certified aging in place training courses. I know you've got CAPS 1, 2, and 3 that really are laser focused on older adults moving or staying, right? Or aging in place, or aging in place at home, staying. It looked to me to be on the modification side of things, so physical environments and things like that. Are you involved? I'm just curious, and others involved. I took a tour of a memory care community. It was a small group home. And I was fascinated because I wasn't aware that they had special locks on the stove. So people with dementia would be. Are you very involved in getting very granular to aging in place with those types of things as well, beyond just ramps, construction, fall risk, things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so that in that coursework, we talk about a lot of the different product choices that people have. And this is, we talk about some of the new technology changes. So the fall detection, the wearables, those things, but we talk a lot about other places to be able to create safe environments. And in some cases, it is a modification. In other cases, it's a product. So it could be a cooktop safety product. It could be a drawer pull out. You know, any number of those kinds of things are part of that particular CAPS training. And the training that we do with Age Safe America, the senior home safety specialist, that's for other professionals in a broad cross section of industries. That one is an online self-paced course. And so that one does have a big component. The cornerstone of that course is really assessing the house, but ways to really help people come up with solutions. And so on the Age Safe America site, we have a new website with a whole list of different kinds of training courses. So both for consumers as well as professionals in the industry. So we have some on aging in place essentials. Excuse me. What are the important things for everyone to look at? The house, their health, the financial side. I mean, all of those pieces are important. And then we have a course for dementia safety training as well. Some ideas about things modifications to either make to the house or just to kind of reorganize what someone already has to make that process simpler. So there's a lot of different trainings that we have, especially the variety now through Age Safe America for both professionals and for people. I mean, we all need to really have that framework that understands that as we're aging, it's not just a physical process for us. You know, I mean, there are important health considerations, and yes, we're supposed to exercise and eat right and do all of those things, but sometimes other conditions happen to us, and then how do we manage those? And we have some of the work and the book that's just coming out with and the NAIPC, the National Aging in Place Council. The new book will be out next week, which is the caregivers edition, and a lot of the NAIPC members. We have co-authored a book. This will be the third in the series. So those books are also good references for people to really get a look, because you don't know when you're going to have that first question or the second question or the change that makes a difference. So all of those different kinds of trainings are parts of my life now as well, my professional life. Yeah.
That's amazing. And congrats on the coming out. I had the pleasure of being a student in one of your classes years ago. And I remember coming out of that course and thinking, oh my gosh, there were so many obstacles that people are navigating, whether it's through their own home or public spaces. I remember learning things about, patterns in carpets and black doormats and the challenges of the width of doorways. Could you share, Fritzi, some tips or just nuggets for people to learn a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. And I will tell you that this is not going to be just a short chat today, ladies. This is going to be, once you get me started, I could be on here for a while, just warning your audience. But we're going to start at the front door. And at the front door, do you have a doormat? Is it raised? Is it rubber backed? Does it stay in place? Do you have a light over the doorway? Do you have a light that focuses on the door lock itself? Do you have a little table to the latch side of the door, right? So you can put things down and then unlock the door. Is your house number visible? Do you have a doorbell that is operational? Do you have a peephole in the door? Right? We haven't gone inside the house yet. We're still at the front door, right? And that's when I do workshops, oftentimes I ask people just to imagine their own front door, because there are so many things that can happen there. Once we step inside, it's the same thing. Is there a little rug? Is there a tripping hazard? Is there clutter by the door? And it's not just always the physical issues about the door handle or the little table or the tripping hazard. But the other thing to consider is, what if you're in the house and you step out into the sunshine, right? You step out into the bright light. It takes your eyes just a few seconds to adjust. That's why the rug is important. That's why the clutter is important. It could be a fall risk to begin with, but it takes us a minute, and it takes us a minute at any age to adjust. So it's those kinds of things. And certainly, throughout the house, there's the things that are we have in common are good lighting, right? So adding motion sensor light in the kitchen, in the bathroom, the little dusk to dawn lights that you plug in, right? We're moving, big sigh, toward winter, right? Where our homes are going to be darker. We're not going to have as much sunshine coming in. So a little dusk to dawn light works in a hallway year round. It's bright, it doesn't come on. So lots of those little tiny things are the pieces that help us make that change. And because if we do one or two, so lighting along the hallways, lighting along stairs, lighting along our exterior pathways, lots of different easy, affordable products. And another one that I love now is if you have a garage with a garage door opener, right? The garage door goes up, and those bulbs behind that big plastic thing up high, they come on until they don't, and then you have to figure out who's going to climb up the ladder and change the bulb in the garage door opener, right? Oftentimes it's nobody. But also in the garage, you typically have one socket up in the garage, and somebody screwed one light bulb in. Now, if your home is older, many of us screwed in the CFL bulbs when they came because they were energy efficient, right? Now we get even less light in the garage. So what I like now is a light that's a tri-light. It screws into the single socket, but it has 3 little wings of LED lights. You would think you're at the football stadium. It's Friday night lights, and it's the same switch, and that light is less than $25.
Wow.
But think how many things there are to trip over in the garage, that they fall, we don't pick them up. They fall, we don't even see that they fell. And a single change like that can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
And so and part of it is, and I'm going to tie it into today as Ageism Awareness Day, because we internalize that ageism, we internalize the stereotypes, we internalize those things. And so sometimes we wait until we're going to be old to do these things, right? Like, I don't need the extra light now, I'm not that old. But if you don't do it now, it's going to be harder to do it when you are older. So if ageism awareness is really about how do we view even that process of getting older, and what are our own stereotypes, what are our own perspectives about that? And does that prevent us, or understanding that, does that perspective help us communicate with others why some of these simple things are so important and can be done easily? And today is my birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. That's my segue into ageism awareness,
Wow.
because I'm 74 today.
Wow, congratulations on your birthday.
Yeah.
Now I feel like, had we known, we would have brought like a cake or something.
For balloons.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The Zoom cake is always the best for my diet. There's no calories when I get a Zoom cake.
That's good stuff. Oh,
Right.
that's great, Fritzi. And it doesn't sound like you have slowed down at all. And it doesn't sound like you've got plans to slow down. You're rocking and rolling. I love it.
Well, we got to, at this point, thanks to lovely students like Susie, I continue to learn myself. Every time I teach, I learn. And so if we have that opportunity to share, like you're doing with your podcast, right? It's an opportunity to share what we know, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And it's that chance to be able to share, to be that little light bulb moment that says, you know what, I should look at my front door. I should look at the garage light. I should do some of these things, and utilize everything that is available to us.
Yeah. I liked your idea. I grew up in the Boston area, and because of the harsh winters, a lot of the homes in the older neighborhoods need a lot of repair. It's just reality. And when you were saying about the numbers on the house being visible, I know I've walked by so many houses where the number, if it was number 24, the 4 has fallen off, and you might actually see the light behind that
Mhm.
4, but the actual, if it was a stone or a wooden 4 came off. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, oh my gosh, as we get older and may have additional needs, how important a number,
Mhm.
which is probably, $3 at Home Depot or Lowe's, can be the difference with minutes if you ever, God
Mhm.
forbid, needed emergency care coming to your house. That to me is something probably not talked about enough and often
Mhm.
overlooked. But when you're talking minutes for someone,
Mhm.
I think that's going to be my
Yeah.
biggest takeaway here today. Honestly, I can tell you already. I would not have thought of that until you brought it up, that
Yeah.
everybody should. It's such an easy fix to put it out there,
Mhm.
big and bold, of where you live.
Yeah. Yeah. And like in Southern California too, oftentimes they have the number painted on the curb, which, right? How many times do you brush up against that curb? Those numbers disappear. And then what? There's a little blue surfboard or something painted on the curb. That's not going to help anybody find you, right? Numbers fall down. Absolutely.
Right.
And what's interesting is a lot of people will choose silver numbers because they think they'll reflect. Silver numbers are very hard to see against medium backgrounds or lighter backgrounds. So people think silver will reflect, but we need clear contrast. So black numbers, white numbers, something that's the clear. Not you can't count on that reflection in the middle of the night. Somebody, in order for those numbers to reflect, somebody'd have to have a flashlight shining it up there looking for what the number is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting to see things that we assume to be the best for ourselves. But if somebody's changing a number and they go from having no number to having silver numbers, please don't be discouraged. It's a good start. But
Yeah.
if we're going to actually do it, let's do numbers that everyone can see.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you see a trend at all with builders, if they are building, when they're building senior living communities or um, family group homes or smaller group homes or whatever the terminology is based on the region? But do you see a trend, bigger or smaller, or no trend? I'm just curious.
The goal for where our population is going, it would be towards smaller,
Mhm.
because so many people who have owned their homes, their families have really grown and moved out, now have a larger home. But because it's so hard to find something appropriate to move to, they're going to stay in a big home. And then young people with growing families don't have those bigger homes to choose from because the folks who are living in there aren't selling them. So I think home builders are starting to put more of the universal design features in to homes. There is a movement among younger people who are looking to make the modifications. So our Gen X's are now actually looking at the modifications that they want to make, the remodels that they want to do, and put some of these features in. So they're already thinking about it. Plus, we're seeing also families moving, like the growing family moves in to the mom and dad's house, right? So there's multi-gen is changing. There's a lot of change. For those of us who are in this space, the builders are not moving fast enough to include universal design. And we're hoping that some of that will start to change. The statistic that has startled me the most in the last couple months was the Harvard study that said, and we've been doing the math for a long time about baby boomers, but January, right? 2.75 months from now, January of 2026, the first of our baby boomers will be 80 years old.
Mm.
The earliest baby boomers will be 80, which means for the next 20 years, the rest of them are going to be turning 80. Someplace in that mix, right? But baby boomers are not what the stock photos show, rollerblading with gray hair down the sidewalk. I mean, those pictures make me completely nuts, right? But the fact of the matter is we've got all these generations now pushing up against where the manufacturers are starting to take and understand that it's not just the next 20 years of these products that we need to think about. Easy pullouts for the shelves, for example, that can modify anybody's dark cabinet into something they can actually use, right? Double hung windows, right? If you have double hung windows, and I know in the East that's a very popular window style, right?
Yeah.
Where's the lock? It's at the top of the bottom frame, right? If you can't reach that lock, you don't lock your window, or you lock it once and then you never unlock it. You don't get the ventilation you could, right? So now window manufacturers are realizing for double hungs, and there's a couple of them that are actually moving the lock down and integrating it into the window frame at the sill height, so someone can unlock their window from the bottom or lock it, but it's integrated in, they're changing the handles on some of the new window styles as well. So that's a very subtle change, but it's an acknowledgement that new windows that are going to need to go in, or replacement windows in all of these homes, why not make them windows that people can actually use?
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Would that be considered universal design? You've used that term, and I'm not sure I completely understand what that term encompasses.
Universal design is an overarching principle that says that any feature or product could be used to the greatest extent by as many people as possible, without regard to ability or disability. And that's why, for example, the levered style door handles are often the first example that people use, because you can push down, you can push up, you can use your hand, a fist, your foot, train the dog. But you're right, you can open or close that door, and it doesn't require a lot of strength. So universal design talks broadly about those kinds of things. And we see universal design in commercial spaces. When you walk up to the supermarket, right? You walk up, the door opens. So an automation of a door is a universal design feature, because you can be tall, short, young, old, walk, push a walker, ride a scooter, have a shopping cart. you can get in that door as long as there's enough space that you're not having to turn to go into the door. And so that's kind of how big the term universal design really is.
Wow. And would home builders be building doorways that are wider than what may have been the norm many, many years ago in preparation for older adults that may need walkers down the road coming into homes?
So the short answer is sometimes. I rented a home in a 55 and over community that had a pretty open floor plan, right? Front doors are typically 36 inches by code in the last 30 years. So the front door is typically not as much of a problem, the door itself. But inside the home that I rented, right, the door to the bathroom was 28 inches. And the door to the toilet side of the other style bathroom was 28 inches. So it's a 55 and over community, 1,200 homes, and the bathroom doorways are still too narrow. Now, part of it is the design concept. Like, you don't want to have a big door announcing your bathroom. All right. I think people will get over that when pretty soon, right, they end up putting a curtain there instead of the door. And there's a lot of modification techniques to doing that. But for building from scratch, they have to be designed. Builders, we need to start on the design side, as well as helping builders understand the costs, because a lot of it is, they're buying 100 of these. So how much more does a wider door cost them actually than a more narrow door? And I recently had a woman from a design build tell me that it was $8. That the whole difference between framing for a larger door and putting in a larger door was $8.
Wow.
And so it's, all right, so the builder says, okay, it's $8 and I'm building, there's 5 doors in the house and I'm building all of these homes. For them, on a big scale, that starts to add up. So where do they get that $8? And that's a whole conversation with builders. The folks, the Canadians in British Columbia did an interesting study too on the costs of making the stairways safe. Like, if you did it the first time, what the additional cost to the project would have been. And it came out to be like $400 to have doorways and the stairs done with double rails, and they had 5 or 6 things and it was less than $500.
Yeah.
And it would have been the first time.
Yeah.
So
you are speaking our language as you're saying all of this. I'm thinking, as it relates to Seni and our incontinence products, we try to do a whole lot of education on, oh my goodness, please look at overall value over versus unit cost, because there are so many ways to get down the road. If I'm that home builder and I've done it the right way and I've invested a couple of more dollars, not a whole lot more, my goodness, what a great marketing plan when you have people coming through to share how you're different. We do a lot of that here at Seni with products. But if you're always just looking at cheapest price per unit piece, often it just doesn't come out in the wash. It comes out when you look at overall value much better. So interesting, different, but very much the same. I do have to share, my mom just recently moved into independent living. And one of the key features that I noticed, and I travel a lot through airports, and I will tell you a big difference noticeable for me, a positive on the independent living. The toilet seat had a whatever they call it, but it was raised. quite frankly, easy to use. I go into
Right.
airport stalls sometimes and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, could somebody look into the side here? Like, I don't know if they've gotten lower or I don't know. Maybe I've got more
Right.
knee issues. I don't know what's off there, but I'm thinking
Yeah.
I came out of using her bathroom. I said, oh, Mom, I like this. There's no issue getting up. It was quite
Right.
nice.
Right. And manufacturers, actually toilet manufacturers now, are creating beautiful integrated toilet riser design. So we don't have to have the plastic donutty thing that has been available. So they have those. And actually, before my husband's knee surgery, we did a few things to the home, including adding one of those very attractive risers to the short toilet that was here in the house, because he was just going to have challenges. And we changed the toilet paper holder to a toilet paper holder grab bar. So it's all integrated, right? Somebody coming into our home, if they bother to go way back to that bathroom, toilet paper is just going to be there on an interesting kind of a handle, but it's actually mounted as a grab bar.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the space that has just grown in terms of design and flexibility and creativity, really, on those products. But actually, as I've been thinking about our conversation and about your line of products, where I felt it really tied into the work that I do is in falling when we're in a hurry. And oftentimes we're in a hurry on our way to the bathroom. And when we're hurrying in that particular hurry cycle, right? We're not looking for tripping hazards. We're not thinking about whether we can actually see. Like, we have a destination and we got to get there. And I've been thinking about in preparation for our conversation today, that really how it relates to falling. It relates to it relates to having confidence in our ability to move through our space, whether it's perfect or not, but at a pace that allows us to do it. We're not just rushing down the hallway and then, something fell, like, something fell off the chair and now that's in the way. And like, we don't see it, but because we're headed to where we need to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm offering that to you all, and feel free to incorporate that in your continuing education here.
Yeah. Well, and it ties back to what you said at the beginning. If you get out of your car and now you've got to go to the bathroom and you've got to go quickly, if you have a light outside of your door that's showing where to put your key in, you're saving time. So it really does tie back to some of those tips on the front end. Like, everything hopefully works like a well-engined machine until it doesn't, right? And one little trigger that you lose time could trigger another negative outcome, versus if everything's in unison, it can be positive. So yeah, interesting stuff, Fritzi. Interesting stuff.
Tell us who should be taking your classes.
Okay, so the NAHB classes, the Certified Aging in Place classes, like you did, Susie, those are for builders, remodelers, designers, architects, occupational therapists, physical therapists, real estate people. I have people all over the map taking those courses. With the Age Safe America, the Senior Home Safety Specialists class, which is online and self-paced, that one actually is continuing ed units for a number of these professions. We've worked very hard to work with the organizations. So that one is a complement to the CAPS class and can be used for CEUs. And that one, the focus, it's broadly a holistic curriculum, fire safety, scams, identity theft, some concerns for that in the house for folks with dementia. But the cornerstone of that Age Safe course is the home assessment, and really step by step, what do you look for in the house, and then developing what some of those solutions look like. And then there's just a variety of other kinds of courses that are all recorded. So the Age Safe America training is all self-paced, so you can pick a different course: dementia safety, fundamentals. We did a grab bar training course that is an overview on where they go, tool safety, job prep, styles, locations. So there's a variety of training, but really people who are interested in learning some of the wherewithals and things to look for, we have the consumer courses too, on aging in place essentials. And most of the courses are for professionals from almost any industry, if you have any clients who are people.
Fantastic. And how do people best reach you that might want to learn more about your courses and other offerings?
Email me, Fritzi, Fritzi, at agesafeamerica.com. And that's one way. Or I can give you my phone number if you want to call or text me. It's 516-429-4839.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I know we're coming up on our time here. I just want to say thank you. I've got a couple of takeaways from this conversation, and I can see why you do so well what you do so well. So thank you for being our guest here today, Fritzi. And Susie, any parting thoughts on your end?
Just always a plethora of information, great nuggets for people to ponder and hopefully take action on. And I just thank you for carving out some time with us. I know you're a busy lady, and happy birthday to you. We're thrilled to have you. It's great to hear all the good information that you shared. Thank you.
Well, it's been my pleasure today, and thank you for having me join you. If you decide in the future you want to do this again, I'm all yours. So thank you very much for today.
We're going to take you up on that offer. I guarantee you.